Yes, this is going to contain spoilers, so if you have not yet read books 1 and 2 in the Frozen Fate Trilogy by Pam Godwin, and you don't want to find out what's going on, you want to go into these books blind, then I absolutely recommend you stop watching now, go away and read those books, and then come back to find out what I have to say. Okay, so if you're still here, then I assume that you are happy to hear a few spoilers as we go, because today I'm doing a deep dive of this book here, Cage of Ice and Echoes by Pam Godwin, and this is book 2 in the Frozen Fate trilogy. So because I'm doing a deep dive on this particular one, then obviously I am going to be sharing some information about book 1 that if you haven't read book 1 yet will absolutely be a spoiler, but I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler free as I possibly can, while also sharing quite detailed thoughts on how I got on with this book. Now, first of all, I thought what I'd do is give you a bit of a summary, a bit of a recap of the first book in this series, The Hills of Shivers and Shadows. Now, when I read this one, and I was lucky enough to get this one as an ARC, I actually vlogged my reading experience of this one. If you haven't watched the video where I vlogged this one, then by all means go and start there, because obviously I give a bit more information about this book there. But essentially, as a bit of a summary, what we have here is our main female character, Frankie. She is married to a billionaire called Monty, and at the start of this book she finds out that she is pregnant. She tells Monty the news, and Monty is not too happy to hear that she's got pregnant, because they agreed they weren't going to have children, and he really doesn't want to have any children. And so they kind of have a bit of an argument, and he goes off to work and he leaves her in the house on her own, and she waits for him to come back from work, hoping that they're going to be able to discuss it further, and she's going to be able to convince him that this child is good news. However, before her husband gets home, another man turns up, a man called Denver, and he basically kidnaps Frankie and takes her on a boat and then a plane, and deposits her in the remote north of Alaska. And he very much makes it look like she has left her husband, so Monty absolutely thinks that his wife has left him after their argument, and therefore no one is going to be looking for her. And when Frankie ends up, like I say, in this very, very isolated, very desolate place in North Alaska, not only is Denver there, the guy that took her, but also he's got 3 sons, and they are Leonid, called Leo, Kodiak, who we call Cody, and Wolfson, who we call Wolf, and they're also there. And then for the first sort of like 30% of this book, we're just finding our feet. Pam is doing a little bit of world building. We're starting to figure out where we are in this location, but obviously there's going to be a lot of dark information, a lot of dark happenings that are going to take place in this book. It's has a very, very sinister sort of feel. Also it feels like a mystery as well, quite suspenseful. We don't exactly know what's happening, why Denver took her, who he is, who these sons are, what their intentions are. And Frankie starts to uncover more and more about their situation and what is going on. What we do find out, and this is the spoilery part, so this is absolutely spoilers, we find out that Denver is a very, very disturbed, sick individual who has been doing some terrible things, and his sons are absolutely victims in this story. And Frankie is trying to figure out everything out. At first, the 3 sons meet her with a bit of hostility. They really don't want her to be there, and we find out this is because Frankie isn't the first woman that Denver's brought to this place, and he's trying to use her in a bit of a game to get some leverage over his sons. The thing is, Denver has all this power over them because he's a very, very clever, intelligent person. He's built this place where they live with very, very advanced technology. They live, you know, like I say, in the remote part of Alaska. Food doesn't grow here. but he has created a generator, so they have electricity, they have water so they can take showers and that sort of thing, they have a barn, and he also has a plane, and only Denver can fly this plane, and he basically goes on frequent trips to get supplies that will be for food and things like that. But there's a part of this winter where the weather is so bad that Denver is not able to fly, and so for 3 or 4 months every sort of winter they are trapped in this cabin together, and it's coming to the point in time where Denver needs to go out on his final kind of flight on the plane to bring back all the supplies they're going to need to keep them alive over the winter period. But things come to a bit of a head at the end of this book, where Denver is removed from the equation, shall we say, and Wolfson is also no longer in the picture, and Frankie, Leo and Cody are left to try and survive the winter with a very, very few supplies. They also don't have any heat because Denver managed to tamper with their heating system before he was removed from the equation, and their only way to escape is this plane, which they're not going to be able to fly until kind of like the winter breaks, if you like, until they start to get a bit of nice weather, but also they don't know where the key is, and none of them know how to fly it, so it's going to be a pretty perilous mission. So this one, like I say, ends on a very, very big cliffhanger. And then we move to book 2, Cage of Ice and Echoes. So at the end of book 1, Denver leaves behind a bit of a riddle, and basically the riddle he leaves them with is: beneath its wings lies the answers you seek in a cage of ice and echoes. And so when this book first starts, we are now left with Frankie, Leo and Cody, and they are in a very, very perilous situation. They are hungry, they have very little food, and they are rationing what they have, so they've all lost quite a lot of weight. They're exhausted because they've obviously been working really hard to keep things going around camp, around the area where they live. They don't have any way to heat themselves apart from burning a fire, and so they've been dismantling anything that's been made of wood, anything around the area that they can basically burn to keep warm. They've also been frantically trying to solve this riddle. Now by this point the relationship as well with Frankie, Leo and Cody is quite complex. So these characters are very, very complex characters. I absolutely love Frankie as the main heroine. She is so determined and strong, and she is very intelligent as well. So a lot of the decisions she's made through books 1, she's made mistakes obviously, but she's very, very sort of like measured in her thinking. She has taken the time to kind of investigate. She's been keeping a journal, so she's been tracking kind of the questions that she's got and any answers that she discovers. So she's kind of been cataloguing and logging everything. And through her sort of journey in book 1, we saw very much that she was very angry with her husband Monty, who's obviously been left behind. We only got his POV once in book 1, and in this book we get many more chapters from Monty, so that we know absolutely that at first he thought maybe that she left him, but then he starts to really believe that there's no way that she could have left and not left any kind of trace, because he's been trying to find her, and with, like I said at the start, he is a billionaire. So he's got access to a lot of resources, and there's no way she could evade capture, if you like. He would absolutely track her down even if she was trying to hide from him. And so he's starting to think that something more sinister has happened. And Monty has obviously been keeping a secret as well. And he starts to investigate his own past, his family, to try and figure out what is going on and where Frankie could possibly have gone. So like I say, Frankie, like in book 1, kind of turns away from her husband. At first she's going to be completely loyal and devoted to him, and then when she finds out something about Monty, she starts to question the love that she had for him, and really turns to comfort in her, with the people that she's now in close proximity with, which is essentially Leo and Cody. Now Leo, she very much starts a sexual relationship with in the Hills of Shivers and Shadows. and very much Leo is very possessive of her, doesn't really want to kind of share her, and you know, falls madly in love with her. And it goes deeper than that, though. It's like a bond that they're formed in like the harshest of situations, and so their love really does run deep. The thing is, Frankie also falls in love with Cody, and while they don't directly have a sexual relationship in the first book, in fact Cody is a virgin hero, they are extremely close, and Frankie absolutely loves Cody just as much as she loves Leo, and Cody loves her. And Leo really struggles with this because he really doesn't want to share her with Cody, and he's very sort of, like I say, very obsessed with her, but also very jealous and protective. But he does see that, you know, how much Cody loves her, how much they need to be together and lean on each other in this place, and even to keep warm at night they have to kind of share a bed together. So this is sort of an MFM sort of romance in this one. Cody and Leo don't have a relationship with each other, but they are, you know, they've grown up as brothers. They have a very strong bond, and they love each other, just not necessarily in a romantic or sexual way. And they kind of come to an agreement through this book that they are absolutely connected to Frankie, and that they are in fact prepared to share her because she is their whole world, and you know, they kind of belong together. And they go through an awful lot. Like I say, this book, where book one was much darker in terms of some of the content that we kind of discover and uncover, this book is still a dark romance, but it's more around it being a survival story. So these characters go through quite some traumatic situations in order to find a way to survive through a very harsh winter, and like I say, with very little food or fuel, and just trying to desperately figure out this this riddle that they've been left, because they're determined obviously to find a way to escape. But it's a very long and harsh winter where they are in the very northern parts of Alaska. And so they go through some very challenging situations. The good news is, though, that they do manage to crack the code. They figure out what this riddle is, and as a result they have a way to escape, because they get a manual to learn how to fly the plane, and they have one chance to get themselves out. Now obviously in this sort of like very sort of like harsh, forbidding landscape, they are in a lot of peril. But I was also very anxious for them, because the moment when they kind of like make it to civilization, I realized that they were in just as much danger there as they were in Alaska. Because if you put yourself into the mindset of both Leo and Cody, these are wild men. You know, they've brought, since they were very young boys, they've only ever lived in this very harsh landscape in Alaska. They've learned how to survive in very harsh winters. They've learned how to hunt, kill and butcher wild animals, and have completely been reliant on their own ability to survive, their own strength, their own power. And turning up in civilization for the first time is going to be extremely daunting for them, very confusing, and also so many more people than they've ever seen in one place before. But what I loved about this is that they kind of make this pact. It's kind of like, you know, they've been through so much together, and they're going to stick together even when they kind of make it to civilization. And Frankie really helps them through this, because she's absolutely adamant and firm that they stay together, that the authorities can't split them up. She is very clear about wanting a lawyer to represent them. And then we get an additional fly in the ointment, because like I say, Monty has been now on a kind of a crusade to track her down, figure out where she is, and find her. And so he is there. He's almost cracked the puzzle for himself, and he's very close by when they escape. And he's there and he turns up and he's like expecting to be reunited with his wife, and it becomes very clear very quickly to Monty that his wife no longer loves him, and he's got a massive uphill battle to climb in order to get her to forgive him and move forward with their relationship, if that's even possible, because Frankie definitely feels that she is no longer connected to Monty in any way, and she doesn't love him anymore. And of course Cody and Leo are going to be absolutely obsessed and very, very protective of Frankie, and very, very suspicious of Monty and his you know, and his motives and his motivation. So this book then ends with a final sort of like cliffhanger, as you like, as we wait for book 3, and that is that Monty, because obviously he's a billionaire, he's going to help these 3 kind of get used to being in civilization. He's going to help them through what they need to get through. We find out quite a lot of answers to quite a lot of questions that we've had about how all these people are related, why Denver picked Frankie in the first place, who Monty is, and what his role in all of this is, and we get another riddle to solve, or another puzzle, shall I say, ready for book 3. So things are not over for these people, even though they're finally have managed to make it out of their, you know, out of the wilderness into civilization. Things are definitely not over. They've got a massive uphill battle, a massive uphill climb to get to their HEA. And this has always been dubbed as sort of like a polyamorous sort of relationship. In book 1, we thought maybe Frankie would end up with 3 sons initially. Then when one of the sons is kind of lost to us, it becomes very clear that this is going to be an MFM romance. But as we go into at the end of book 2, and Monty is now back on the scene and he's absolutely determined he's going to win Frankie back over, my thought now is, I wonder if somehow Monty is going to redeem himself and this is going to become an MFM kind of romance, or if Monty really has you know, lost his chance at getting his wife back. We are going to have to see. But I was absolutely on the edge of my seat with this one. It's an absolutely fantastic read. Both books 1 and 2 are 5-star reads. This is an absolute masterpiece from Pam Godwin. The attention to detail, the little Easter eggs and clues that she's left throughout these books. You know, the complexity but also the simplicity of this story is absolutely phenomenal. And just when I was reading this second book in particular, I felt that the writing was extremely soulful, very beautiful. Their romance sort of goes beyond just, you know, physical desire or surface level attraction. This is like a deep, forever kind of bond these 3 have, not only because of their experience together, the fact that they've had to survive in such a forbidding landscape together, but it feels so much like they are truly soulmates, and I absolutely loved it. It really is absolutely a fantastic read. So I hope I haven't given too much away. I've tried to give you quite a lot of information which may give some things away as you read these books, but also I've tried to be as vague as possible so that I still haven't given you the actual answers to the questions. You are going to have to read the books if you want to find that out, but they are absolutely worth the read. The first book is a long book, and this one is also a fairly chunky read at nearly 500 pages, but it's absolutely worth every minute spent on reading this book, and I would highly recommend you pick these up if you like Pam Godwin, if you like dark romances, or if you just want an absolutely amazing reading experience. Then please pick these up and give them a read. So there we have it. That is a deep dive on Cage of Ice and Echoes. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content from me. And if you've read these books and also have an opinion about what you think is going to happen, please pop those down into the comments box below, and I'd love to hear your theories and your thoughts. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. you know, have completely and he talks about it being beneath the wings. In fact, let's see what it actually says. However, before, don't know what's going on there. Okay, start again. Yes, this is going to contain. Okay, so I'm just debating in my head whether or not I should re-record that with holding the book up. But I'm going to be holding the book up for a fairly big chunk of time, so I'm not going to do that. Am I? Don't know. And then I'd love to get your view by putting it in the comments box down below.